Now the first thing I know you guys are probably saying to yourselves is, you're not Steve. No, I'm not, but you're going to have to wait till the morning to hear Dangle's reaction, so why not have a little bit of fun and jump onto my channel here when normally I'm talking about the Montreal Canadiens, and I told you guys I was going to start talking about other teams sooner or later, and here we are. The Toronto Maple Leafs drop a bombshell at around midnight. This is probably a decent video to start talking about other teams on because this is a juicy trade. You can't help but think that the Leafs really are hoping and praying hard that this works out a lot better than the Nick Foligno trade a couple years ago. So the full trade from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs have acquired Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari in a 3-team trade with St. Louis and Minnesota. St. Louis receives Mikhail Abramov and Adam Gaudette, Toronto's first-round pick in 23, Ottawa's third-round pick in 23, and Toronto's second-round pick in 24. Minnesota receives Toronto's fourth-round pick in 25. And I think the most comical thing so far coming from Twitter is from Frank Saravalli's tweet, which says, and I quote, "This trade seemed to go against just about everything Leafs GM Kyle Dubas spoke about recently. O'Reilly and Acciari are rentals. And Toronto gave up first, second, third, and fourth round picks to do it." You really got to think the Leafs believe sincerely that Ryan O'Reilly can help this Maple Leafs team, but also Acciari is known for being what I would call a jerk hole. I'm not going to say the other abbreviation for it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And apparently, I mean, we know that the Leafs need more depth up front. Yes, they're going to get O'Reilly as a third-line center behind Tavares and Matthews, but that's something in itself. But Acciari is a guy who's going to be a grinder, he's going to be a pest, he's going to be a jerk, and his numbers really aren't that bad either. In 361 games played in the NHL thus far to date, Acciari has 55 goals and 40 assists, good for 131 points in those 361 games. Not bad numbers if you really have all things considered here. The guy's 31 years old. The most interesting thing I think in terms of Acciari is the fact that he was on the Boston Bruins when they lost to the St. Louis Blues in the 2019 Stanley Cup Final. In Boston, Game 7, Brad Marchand crying, nobody forgets that one. The narrative could not be any more focused this year. The Leafs have gone out 6 straight times in the first round in the Stanley Cup Finals, as we know. So if this can't help them get over that hump once again, because we know the Leafs are probably going to take Tampa, or they're going to draw Tampa or Boston in the first round again. So these guys have absolutely got to push the Leafs over the hump here. For what you're going to get out of Ryan O'Reilly, I mean, he doesn't have amazing numbers right now with the St. Louis Blues, but that doesn't take away the way the Leafs value him. The Blues have not had a great season, and Acciari, again, is going to bring that grindy, hard-nosed game that the Blues, that the Leafs absolutely need in the playoffs if they're going to get past that first round. And the fourth line has been a big question mark for the Leafs this year. They haven't had the same guys on it and haven't been able to find that consistency that they're looking for. So in Acciari, they believe that they have it. One of the best pieces of value for the Leafs in this deal, though, is that Minnesota retains 50% of Ryan O'Reilly and Acciari's salary, and Minnesota retains the other 25%, which means the Leafs are only taking on 25% of their salary. So you've got Ryan O'Reilly for $1.875 million as a rental until the end of this season here. And if things go well, in this case, it's more realistic to think that the Leafs would be interested in signing O'Reilly, whereas Nick Foligno had plans to not return to Toronto. We all kind of knew that pretty early on, it seemed like. O'Reilly is from Clinton, Ontario, which is about 2 hours, 20 minutes from Toronto, so didn't grow up that far away from the big city, but this is just something that the Leafs absolutely had to do. And while they're still going to be in the market for a defenseman, more than likely, they had to shore up their center depth, their fourth line, and this is something that they're absolutely going to need going into the playoffs if they're going to get past the juggernaut Tampa Bay Lightning or the even bigger juggernaut Boston Bruins. What O'Reilly could really bring too is that net front presence and just getting those greasy, dirty goals that the Toronto Maple Leafs absolutely need. They got the skill out the wazoo with your Matthews, your Nylanders, your Tavares, your Mitch Marner, so you know that Ryan O'Reilly is going to be a guy to bang home some greasy goals and just help the Leafs to establish a more consistent attack in different ways than they have before. As part of this deal, the Leafs also get prospect Josh Pillar, who is a right winger. He shoots right. He's currently playing for the Saskatoon Blades in the WHL right now. He's 21 years old. 6 foot, 179 pounds. His numbers aren't too sexy right now, but he's only played 13 games so far this season with the Saskatoon Blades. 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points in those 13 games, so not bad numbers. But he's a prospect, a throw into to this deal, but at least the Leafs have something else to ride on because they've given up a first, second, third, and fourth round pick here. So you have to think that the Leafs are just absolutely desperate to get through this first round. If this doesn't work, if this genuinely doesn't work, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are not able to get out of the first round again for a 7th straight season, it's going to be cataclysmic for the Dubas era. The Dubas era will very likely end, possibly the Brendan Shanahan era. I think Dubas is first out the door, but you can't think Brendan Shanahan's going to be far behind him if they can't finally break through, because what else can they do? This trade was a big deal, so it's hard not to want to talk about this one. And for all you guys, wherever you're from, whatever fan base you cheer for, obviously Toronto Maple Leaf fans may be tuning into this video, and typically I don't talk about other teams. Leave a comment down below, guys. I'm curious to know how much more confident you are now in your Toronto Maple Leafs with the acquisition of Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari, plus the prospect, and how you feel about the payment, which to some, it's an overpayment for these players. But let me know how happy or not happy you are at the deal. Give me all your thoughts. Break it all down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.